Okay, campers, if you're following along in these videos and you're behind and so you're watching them one right after the other, you'll notice we have not had a break. The screen has not changed. All right, but we have just finished lengthening the sleeves on our t-shirt and now we want to add cuffs. Okay, so the easiest way to add cuffs to our sleeve is to take the line at the bottom of the sleeve, and maybe I'll zoom in a little bit and try and show you what this looks like. Okay, we're going to take this line at the bottom of the sleeve. We're going to repeat it about 2 inches up. And then we're going to take this pattern piece and we're going to cut it apart and sew it back together. What does that do? Well, it makes two separate pattern pieces so that now we can manipulate them separately. Let me show you how that works. Okay, the first thing that we want to do, because this is a curve down on the bottom, is we want to eliminate the curve. Okay, we want this to be a nice straight line because when we're dealing with cuffs, a nice straight line is better. So I'm going to go and I'm going to right click using the edit pattern tool. I'm going to right click on this bottom line and I'm going to delete all curve points. Delete all curve points will remove all curve points from that line, and now you see it's nice and straight. We've got a nice straight line here, and that's what we want. The second thing that we want to do is we want to make this angle at the bottom as close to 90 degrees as we possibly can. It just makes things easier for us when dealing with our cuffs. So I'm going to take this point here and I'm going to drag it in. And as I do, you'll see that the angle measurement is changing. I don't need it to be exactly 90. I'm not that fussy, but I do want to bring it in until it's about 90 degrees. Okay, there we go. Close enough. All right, let's turn gravity on and we should see that sleeve tighten up a little bit, and it does. That's okay. All right, so now I've got a nice flat line and my angles are close to 90 degrees. Now I can start to make my cuff. I'm still using and have been using all this time this edit pattern tool over here in the 2D window. Always mind what tool you have enabled. That's the tool that you're using. So we're using the edit pattern tool. We're going to right click again, right click on this line, and we're going to choose offset as internal line. Offset as internal line. What does that mean? It means we're going to draw a line on this pattern piece, and it's going to be offset from the edge of the pattern. So I'll choose offset as internal line, and right away you can see that line. See in the background, that red line there? There it is. How many offsets do I want? Just one. This is a cuff. And what distance do I want it at? Let's make a 2-inch cuff. So I'm going to put 2 in there for 2 inches. And you see that red line pop up right away. There's where it is. Okay. Okay, we have drawn a line on the pattern 2 inches from the edge. So we've done an offset internal line. All right, awesome. Now what can we do with that line? Well, we can do a whole bunch of things with that line. You're going to do this process a lot. But we can right click on that line. And the thing I want to do is cut and sew. I want to cut the pattern piece apart, but then I want to sew it back together in the same location. So let's choose cut and sew, and boom, now we have 2 pattern pieces, but they are sewn together. And if we were to zoom in, let's move her around and zoom right in on her wrist. Do you see that line? There's our seam. There's the seam where it's cut and sewn. All right. So now I've got 2 pattern pieces. This piece up here is my main sleeve, and this piece down here is my cuff. And with the cuff, what can I do with it? Well, let's make it a little smaller. We'll make it a little bit narrower. Bring it in from the left, bring it in from the right, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so we've made the cuff smaller, but the sleeve stays the same size. Well, what happens when you sew 2 pieces of fabric together and the seams are different lengths? You get gathering, and gathering is what we want. Let's turn gravity on, and there's our gathering. See, we get some nice gathering going there. Is that cuff right? Do I like it? It still seems a little loose to me. All right, let's turn gravity off and we will bring this cuff in a little bit more. Bring it in some more. And gravity on. Yep, we're getting somewhere. I'm liking this. It's getting better. Let's bring it in even more. Two. And a little bit more. And gravity on. There we go. Now it's hugging her hand. That's what I want. There's my nice scuff with some gathering, and that looks pretty good all the way around, right? Yeah, we like that. All right, so that's how to make a cuff on a sleeve. If you remember our pattern over here, and I'm zooming out, our pattern has two mirrored sleeve pieces, so what I did to one automatically happened to the other. That's awesome, okay? To make a cuff at the bottom of the garment, I'm going to do the same thing, okay? This time, though, it's going to be a little bit different. And why is it going to be a little bit different? Because this pattern piece, the front, does not look exactly like this pattern piece here, the back. These are two separate pattern pieces. I'm going to have to do them separately, okay? The good news is they're both flat on the bottom. So let's zoom in on our front piece here and we'll right click here and we'll offset his internal line and a 2-inch offset. See, it remembers 2-inch offset, give it an okay. I've got a 2-inch offset on the front. All right, right click, cut and sew. I now have a separate seam on the front, but I do not yet have that same seam on the back. If you're looking carefully here, you'll see we have the seam on the front, but no seam on the back. So let's go make a seam on the back. We'll come over to our back piece and we'll repeat those same instructions. Right click, offset his internal line, one offset at 2 inches. There we have drawn a line. Now we're going to right click and cut and sew that line. And now we have a separate cuff piece in the back. And look at our 3D window here. If you're looking closely, you're seeing, see that seam? It goes around the front and it goes around the back. Yay. So now what do we want to do with it? Well, let's bring it in a little bit. Let's take the cuff on the back and bring that in. You notice it comes in from both sides. Not only is this a mirrored pattern, it's also a symmetric pattern, which means that what you do to one side of the pattern also happens to the other side of the pattern. And that's really nice because it saves us a bit of work. Okay, so we've made that cuff smaller. Let's turn gravity on. Yep, the back is now starting to bunch up a little bit. Perfect. Gravity off. Let's go to the front and we will do the same thing there. We'll bring it in. Bring it in. But yay, right? If you've been paying attention, you may have noticed these really weird green lines going on here. What are these green lines? That's sewing indicators. That's indicating that this piece here, or this piece here, the front cuff, is sewn to the back cuff. All right, gravity on. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Let's back out a little bit so we can see what this gathering looks like. I really do want this to sit up on her hips. That's the look that I'm going for. You may go for something different, and that's okay. But for me, I want this to sit up on her hips. All right, it looks like it's doing that. So I think I am in good shape with my cuffs here. Okay, so again, we've done essentially the same procedure 3 times. We have done an offset line at the sleeve and then brought the cuff in. I'm sorry, we've done, let's do it all together. Under the edit pattern tool, we have done an offset as internal line. We have done and then once we have the line, we've done a cut and sew on that line. And then we've modified just the cuff piece to make it narrower. And CLO is maintaining all of the sewing and stitching for us. Okay, so that's how you make cuffs.